Ladies and gentlemen, our referee has called a stop to this contest, declaring the winner by knockout and new MMA show! Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting round of and new MMA show. I'm your host, Michael Hansen, and I do all kinds of stupendous things holding a microphone in my hands because I'm a ring announcer and a cage announcer, and I am joined this week, as I always am, by my two buddies, my two co-hosts, both of whom, dare I say, bring MMA punditry up to new heights. Introducing first, Mark Priaulx. What's up, buddy?
What's up, boys? I'm back to getting a little whited out again. You were getting whited out last week. It seems you've recovered.
I'm back to normal.
I have some weird shine. I have to, duck a little bit. But anyway, yeah. Omar's in a rush. Let's start the fucking show.
Let's do it, man. Introducing, he's in Florida. He's Omar Artola. What's up, man?
What's going on? Wife's been gone for 6 days. She went to Vegas with her sister. Had a nice little time. She flying back nowish. She's on her way home right now. So, chop chop.
All right, man. So let's skip the pleasantries, gentlemen, because we had a little chit chat before we hit record here. So let's just get right into it. Let's run down this episode and spare our audience and our listeners from our banal opening remarks that we usually have. This week we're going to talk about most, if not all, of the fights from this past weekend's UFC Fight Night. Almeida versus Lewis. We're going to find out who's on the marquee. We're going to throw a few of the fights into our lightning round. Mark and Omar giving us their quick takes of some of these results. Because it is on the heels of a UFC, we are going to get an update from Mark on his rankings that he meticulously maintains himself that we call the Priaulx Rankings. Then we're going to dive into we're going to dive inside the MMA sphere with Omar. We're going to find out what's going on in the world of MMA, outside of the cages. And then we're going to look ahead to this weekend's incredible pay-per-view, UFC 295, Prochazka versus Pereira. Ooh, just the co-main and the main, taking just the two of those fights, man, makes this pay-per-view just I'm gonna have palpitations during these two fights, man.
It really is a fantastic two fights.
And then we might end with a little bit of trivia. I'll ask the trivia question now. The question will be, how quickly will Omar bust? Since okay. If you're watching this with kids, or if you're listening to this in the car with some kids, earmuffs, man, earmuffs. Hey, before we get into any fight talk, let's quickly address our audience for real. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, thank you so much. If you've been liking what you've been seeing, please like this video and consider subscribing to our channel. Hit the bell icon so that you never miss a video. We want to hear you down in the comments. If you like any of our takes, let us know down in the comments. If you disagree with any of our takes, let us know down in the comments. We want to hear your takes as well. We love here on And New MMA Show. We love the thoughtful MMA conversation. That's what we're here for. That's why we do this. If you want audio only, hey, we got you there. Find us wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, find us on social media at @andnew_MMA Show. Okay, let us do this. This week, the name on the marquee has got to be Jailton Almeida, who this past weekend put on a grappling clinic, defeating Derrick Lewis by unanimous decision across 5 rounds in the main event of UFC Fight Night that went down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, in front of 10,000 strong Brazilians, and they cheered on their hometown boy. The scorecards for Almeida read 50-44, 50-44, and 50-45, all for Almeida. Mark, give us your take on this fight. It was, in my opinion, one of the most boring, incredibly dominant performances that I've ever seen. What's your take?
I was basically going to open with the same exact line. I don't think I've ever seen so much dominance be so frustrating. Like, it's such a strange fight. Jailton Almeida continued to show why he is referred to as Brazilian Khabib, at least in terms of the takedown and control ability. I mean, he took full mount about a jillion times. He rode Lewis, who's a massive man. No matter how Lewis moved, he rolled with him most of the time. He showed a lot, and he's talented as hell. But in terms of activity on the ground, Khabib, he is not. We know he likes the methodical setups, and that's all well and good when you're having success with them and you're getting guys out of there in the first or the second. But, man, this one got pretty rough because he really took his time, as he likes to do. But to be in full mount time after time after time, the way that he was, and to do nothing with it is wild. I don't know that I've ever seen a fighter more inactive from mount. I mean, the commentary team was begging him to throw strikes. His corner was, too, at certain points. I don't know what made him feel like he couldn't open up more than he was. I get it that he wants to keep Lewis under control, and Lewis is a big man, and he has this reputation for just being able to stand up. But at a certain point in time, when you're in mount for like the fifth time in the fight, you got to do something. So I don't know. I don't know if he hurt his buzz or helped his buzz or what he did in this fight. I mean, the talent is certainly there, and the inactivity in this fight didn't change anything about his talent. If anything, it showed you how much better maybe he could still be if he can work through that part of his game. But it's just a weird one. And Derrick Lewis didn't even fight badly, man. I was actually really impressed with how calm he stayed on bottom, how sound he was defensively, how his cardio held up. I mean, he looked fine in that fight. He was just fighting a guy who can take down an elephant, and that's what it was. So hopefully we can see Lewis in there with a striker in his next one. And Jailton Almeida continues to march up the ranks. We'll see how aggressive they want to be with him.
All right, let's bring Omar in here. Omar, what were your thoughts watching Almeida dominate the great Derrick Lewis, staying away from those heavy strikes? Oh, you're muted.
Before we get into that,
Oh.
I just want to point out now that Mark made me think to myself, we were all laughing at the elephant joke, and I thought to myself, how much does a baby elephant weigh? Guess how much a baby elephant weighs, Mark?
200 pounds.
250?
260 pounds.
Wow. Wow.
So
A baby elephant is a heavyweight.
the phrase Jailton Almeida could take down an elephant is probably fucking accurate. So
Do you mean
there
like
it is.
you think that that's like
harder to get him off balance?
Do you think that's like an infant elephant, like the baby elephant that drops out of the mother's womb is already 260 pounds?
And 3 feet long, dog. That's correct.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. Rhinos are kind of like that too. We're getting off topic, but
Yeah.
rhinos are like 100-pound babies.
Let's talk about the fight.
Anyway, yeah, this was a crazy ass performance. I think we all knew how good Jailton Almeida was, but I think we all Mark made a lot of good points about the performance from Derrick Lewis. There's not a lot of people who've been able to do that to Derrick Lewis and not finish him, and Derrick Lewis I thought was definitely defensively sound. It's just rough because he spent 21 minutes and 10 seconds on the ground, which now is the most control time in UFC heavyweight history. And you could see it, man. He didn't really have an answer on the ground. Like Mark kind of alluded to, he's been able to Derrick Lewis his way out of shit before, right? Where he just stands up and makes people doubt that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu even works. But he wasn't able to do that here. And Almeida is on a different level, man. And I think the fact that Almeida was able to close the distance as many times as he was without dying, and being able to control Derrick Lewis as long as he did without really ever giving up position. It wasn't even like it was a back and forth kind of thing. You know, it definitely wasn't the most exciting fight in the world, but dominance, you can't argue the dominance in that fight. And to dominate Derrick Lewis is a pretty big deal.
I will say this. I cannot think of the last time a ref was yelling at a fighter to do something in the mount. It almost seemed like Mark Goddard was like, please do not make me stand you up from mount because I will get tarred and feathered in the MMA community.
Yes.
Like you could feel it, right? Like you could feel it. It's like, is Goddard thinking about standing them up?
Yes.
Because it's been like 10 minutes.
I think in his head that you're exactly right. He was like, this motherfucker is going to make me do it.
Like, he was like, you're just sitting on him. Just do something. Yeah, man, I'll say it again. It was most dominant, boring fight, or most boring, dominant fight I've seen. And I say that as a fan of Jailton Almeida. Like, as he's come up, I'm like, this guy, who's going to beat this man? I'm a big fan of his skill set and what he can do in the cage. Mark, what were you going to say?
I was coughing. I just keep coughing. I wasn't saying anything.
No.
Had a cough for like 3 days. It's like one big cough at a time. It's the weirdest cough ever. It's like I'm just so suddenly choking.
I do want to echo what you were saying, Mark, about the calm displayed by Derrick Lewis. I, too, was very impressed by, I think we can call it the maturation of his skill set and the evolution of his skill set. Derrick Lewis is a more complete mixed martial artist than a lot of people give him credit for. I know he is the heavyweight knockout king, at one time the UFC all-time knockout king, and he is known and should be and will always be known for the thunder that he carries in his hands. But man, he against a guy who is as incredibly good at jiu-jitsu as Almeida, Derrick Lewis, you could tell he had a really good sense of where he was in danger, where he was safe, what he needed to do, and hats off to him, man.
But those are the levels right there, right? I mean, that's Almeida. You can see is a high level jiu-jitsu black belt, right? And as good as Derrick Lewis is, I think the game that his ground level is at is to be able to survive, is to be able to make sure that he doesn't get submitted. But it doesn't go further than that. You know, especially against a guy of Almeida's caliber. Once he was on the ground, he was probably never really going to get back up, short of finding a moment to just do what he normally does and just stand up. But he wasn't going to out-technique Almeida into getting up, right? He wasn't going to hit a switch or some kind of sweep to get up off of that ground. It just wasn't going to happen.
I mean, as we've seen against lesser grapplers who work in a takedown against Derrick Lewis, he has the ability, as we've seen in like the highlights leading up to this past weekend, he could just literally stand up and be like, I'm too large and too strong for you to just try to hold me down. But not the case with Almeida. Almeida, his offensive jiu-jitsu is pretty much what we've seen from him. He has not needed to be any kind of defensive grappler at all. And I'm going to segue off that point into what could be next for Jailton Almeida. Mark, give us a name. I know my name of who I would love to see him fight. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but what do you think?
I have a very long answer, but the crux of it is that I don't think it's worth matching him up until Sergey Pavlovich and Tom Aspinall fight this weekend, and here's why. This is the long answer portion of this. Bones and Stipe ain't happening for a while still. So, in my mind, whoever becomes the new interim champion on Saturday is going to need to defend that belt once before they're ever fighting the winner of Bones and Stipe. And my best guess is that defense is going to be against Cyril Gane, who is ranked number 1 at the moment. So, to me, that takes him out of the picture because I think he's getting that fight. I know that's who Almeida asked for. So then that leaves the loser of Pavlovich and Aspinall, Curtis Blades, and Volkov as potential opponents for this guy. And then you get into all the math of who the loser is. Like, if Sergey loses, him and Volkov already fought Blades. So my guess is that Almeida gets Blades in that scenario. And you could do the same type of math if it's Aspinall who loses, who he's already fought, and yada yada. So I don't think it's worth matching him up until we see who loses this fight, and then to me, it's the loser, Blades, Volkov, Almeida, and those 4 fight each other in 2 fights. So I think you wait and see.
Omar, what are your thoughts?
My answer wasn't so eloquent. The Curtis Blade fight fell apart. Rebook that shit. Let's go. Curtis Blades.
Yeah, Blades is my answer. Alluding back to the point that I made in terms of we haven't seen Almeida have to be a defensive grappler. And I don't know if how much he would want to be an offensive grappler against Blades, or how much he'd be able to be an offensive grappler against Blades.
I actually, my sort of outlook on it is I want to see how well he does against Blades in the counter wrestling. I actually want to see if he can make Blades super uncomfortable, because Blades is the kind of guy you put him on his back, he's also not going to do very well.
It's almost like he's just too big. He's like,
it's not that. He's a wrestler. It's his instinct is to be on top, right? His instinct is to take people down, be on top, control. But Jailton Almeida, you could put him on bottom, he'll still fuck you up. Put him on top, he'll still fuck you up. And the real issue with Almeida is that he's so good on bottom, he can go from being on bottom to being on top really quickly. So there are a lot of different tools that Almeida brings to the table that I don't think Curtis Blades does. And if Curtis Blades is puts himself in a position where he's on bottom, he's not getting up from that position.
If you ask me what fight I want to see the most from Almeida and what fight makes the most sense, I fully agree that it's Curtis Blades. I guess I was more so answering in the what I think is realistic, just because, like, say it is Aspinall that loses on Saturday. Mm-hmm. He just beat Volkov, and that's the only other guy there. So he's going to I think he'll probably get Curtis Blades in that scenario.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's like Almeida Volkov. So I was just trying to, like, figure how it would all shake out. But my favorite matchup for Almeida, because of everything you guys are saying, is absolutely Curtis Blades. That's the test that I would want to see.
Pavlovich is also obviously very intriguing because Pavlovich has the touch of death. So it's always interesting to see someone try to figure out that puzzle.
Dog, they all do though, man. I mean, he just went against the KO King, and he's fine. Yeah. He like walked out of there like scratchless.
He really did. It was wild.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Pavlovich have to try to grapple much, have we? Because he ends everybody so quickly.
Yeah, maybe I can't remember how his first fight went, because I know that was probably
his loss. His loss over him, beat him on the ground,
right?
Yeah, he beat him on the ground. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Granted, I think maybe a lot of improvements have been made since then. That was quite some time ago.
For
now.
Sure. Okay, let's talk about Derrick the Black Beast Lewis. Where does he go from here? Omar, what do you think at heavyweight could be his next fight?
I'm thinking it's probably time for him and Alexander Romanov to finally meet. It does not look like that is something that has happened, and I think Romanov is, from what I remember, should be on his way back sooner rather than later. Hopefully in better shape and kind of in a better headspace from what it sounded like before. So I think that's a fight that, if we're going down Derrick Lewis's resume of who he hasn't fought at this point and kind of where he is in his career, I think that's a good fight to make.
Mark, what do you think?
Much more straightforward answer than my Almeida one. I have been banging this drum since before we ever even started doing this show. Now is the time, just like every other time was the time. I want Derrick Lewis and Jairzinho Rozenstruik to get in a goddamn cage.
Yeah, why haven't
and it
they
makes
fought?
Perfect sense right now. Book it.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. Did Rozenstruik? He just lost to Almeida, right? That was his.
He's coming off a loss. Yeah.
To Almeida?
Is he coming off Almeida? Has he not fought since then?
No, I think he has. Am I wrong?
I don't know. Now I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm looking too. It's a good fight, though.
That's his last fight.
It's a great fight.
Yeah.
Dude,
that could easily.
Yeah. Fucking someone's knocking out the other one. I need to know.
It's wild to me. Dudes are just like, I fought in May. I'm not going to fight for the rest of the year. I'm good. That's wild.
You never know what happens to pick up some fucking injury or.
I guess.
I feel like there's always shit behind the scenes. Like, we didn't even hear about. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but did you guys even hear that before Usman took that Chimaev fight recently, that Cannonier took it, and for 24 hours it was Cannonier versus Chimaev?
No.
See, this is what I mean. Like, stuff just happens behind the scenes and you don't even hear. I forget what I was listening to that I even heard this. But, yeah, first Cannonier accepted it. And as they were about to announce that it was Cannonier Chimaev, literally like half an hour before, he called them and said he had been training with an ankle injury and was going to go through it. And I guess he was compensating for it, and he fucked up the other ankle. So he was like, I literally am hobbled now. I can't fight. And then that's when they came up with the Usman idea.
Fuck.
Should have
he's
found
out
a
for
more
like 5
powerful
months.
stone.
Needed to get some surgery or something.
Wow.
I just feel like there's always shit happening that like half the time you don't even hear about why guys are like out for a bit.
That would have been a crazy fight too, though. Wow.
Yeah.
I would have loved to see that. Okay, let's move on unless you guys have anything else to say about either one of these heavyweights. Cool?
Go for it. Hey, next one. Yay.
Oh, nice.
Go Sports.
Did he beat the Spurs?
Yep.
Wow. What did Wembanyama have? Just curious.
I don't know. I'm opening it right now.
For those who might not know, this is like 5% a New York Knicks podcast.
This is ridiculous.
Wembanyama only had 14.
Maybe 10%. Good. Okay.
Wow, we were very balanced tonight.
Let's talk about a fight.
Let's go back to MMA.
Let's talk about a fight that literally got me out of my chair as I was watching this. I stood up,
Bro.
Fuck yeah.
out of my chair. I was like by myself. I was like, holy shit, that was fucking awesome. Nicolas Dalby, round 2 TKO, taking the O away from Gabriel Bonfim. Omar, give us your thoughts.
I mean, Nicolas Dalby's a fucking dog. That dude is. I mean, that shit is crazy. It really took a turn for me watching that. Obviously, once we had Bonfim against the cage, it wasn't a great sign. But like, Bonfim was still in it, right? Still throwing, still trying to move, still had, he had a head movement. He had it, right? And then Dalby hit him with a fucking elbow that like you could hear across the other side of the globe. And Bonfim like wiped his face, I think, trying to shake it off. He ain't go nowhere. He was fucked up. From that point on, he was not the same. That one elbow ruined his whole life in that moment. It was, I mean, they brought Dalby in there to lose. Let's be wholly honest, right?
Yeah,
It was a good test, though.
That was, sure, but that was Bonfim's world, right? Bonfim, this up-and-coming prospect, undefeated.
In Brazil, make a star.
Yeah, choking everybody out, doing all kinds of crazy shit, right? Dalby was there to get fed to Gabriel Bonfim, and instead destroyed this man in front of the entire crowd. And not only did he destroy this man in front of the whole crowd, he silenced the crowd. This man knocked him out, walked him out, gave a salute, and no one said a goddamn word in that crowd. It was amazing. It was, I mean, these are the kind of moments for me that make MMA worth it. This shit
100%.
was,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
This is the kind of moment, this is the kind of fight where you say, this is why we watch. This is why they fight the
100%
fights. This is why they play the games.
Yep.
Oh,
This is
so
why
good.
I watch this sport.
Like,
I mean,
yes.
dude, Dalby had some beautiful, beautiful Muay Thai in there. Beautiful close fight. Like there's guys who like to fight on the outside. Conor McGregor is one of them, right? You'll see him bounce in and out even when he's got a guy against the cage. He's still very rangy, right? He keeps his range very, very well. Dalby's like, fuck you. I'm right up against you. I'm right in your face. I'm going to elbow you. I'm going to clinch you. I'm going to punch you. I'm going to knee you. I mean, the pace that man puts on while he's just destroying you is wild.
Yeah, 50% of his effectiveness is the not letting you breathe aspect of it.
And that's a great game plan to bring in there against Bonfim, but turned out to not be intimidated, to be like, you might be this undefeated up-and-comer phenom, but I'm just going to go right at you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And if you don't have an answer for it, man, if you don't have an answer for it, you spend too much time trying to figure out what to do, and by the time you have any idea, you're already tired because you've been on the back foot now for like 3-4 minutes. You know what I mean? It's rough. It's rough.
Mark, let's bring you in here. What were your reaction as you watched this fight?
My reaction is put some respect on Nicolas Dalby's name. First off, what a friggin' win. Yeah, I mean, Omar said some of this, but the man marched into Brazil as a huge underdog against a 15-0 killer who had never even seen scorecards in his career, and he absorbed the best he had to offer and then took him out. And for those that may not be aware of Nicolas Dalby, like, yes, he has a couple losses that you don't love, which is why he's not a ranked level fighter, but he now holds victories over Zaleski dos Santos, who we'll talk about, Daniel Rodriguez, Muslim Salikov, Gabriel Bonfim and also has a draw with Darren Till. That's a pretty damn good resume. He is the real deal, and he has proved it again here. Bonfim came out on fire, just like he usually does. But Dalby made a decision in his mind that he was walking forward no matter what. He was like, I am going to break this man before he puts me down. And in the first round, you could tell that Bonfim didn't love the constant pressure, but he was dynamic enough to find ways to counter it. And then in round 2, he gets that takedown and half the round passes, and it's all looking well and good. But when Dalby gets up and he is still just coming straight forward with that constant pressure again, you could see it. Bonfim started to look like he was like, all right, enough. Like, he wanted to be like, can you give me a break? Like, he had that look on his face where he was like, when is this dude going to fucking back off? And that kind of pressure will break you, man. And it broke Bonfim. He really looked like he hit a point where he was like, this is crazy. And I think he kind of started to panic a little internally as he wasn't getting the breath under control and wasn't getting to reset. And Nick Dalby smelled blood, and he didn't let him escape. And Dom Cruz said it best. He said that Nicolas Dalby's game plan was to make it a race. And that's exactly what he did. Bonfim jumped out ahead, but he couldn't hold the lead, and Dalby closed hard and finished that fight. Huge fucking win.
Huge win, man. Oh, can't wait to rewatch that one. Let's talk about the winner here, Nicolas. What's his nickname? The Danish Dynamite.
That might
Nicolas
be it.
Nicolas Dalby. Moving up into the welterweight, more and more towards the welterweight rankings here. Mark, what are your thoughts?
I think he's earned himself another real shot. I know the loss to Tim Means was only a couple years ago, but the wins he's getting right now and the way he's looking in these last few, I think he deserves another pretty big fight. First one I'll say is not super realistic. It's definitely swinging for the fences, and I'm not even sure the other guy would accept this, but I would really love to see him and Rafael dos Anjos. I just think the back and forth and the pace and the war that fight could give us is awesome. Again, that might be a little too much in terms of what he can actually get. So if not that, then I'll say Santiago Ponzinibbio.
Nice. Omar, do you have any other ideas?
Yeah, so I did think about RDA, and I also came to the conclusion that RDA is not going to take that fight because he probably doesn't know who the fuck Nicolas Dalby is.
I know.
So I did, and no shade to Dalby. I just don't think RDA is at a point now where he's looking at guys that he doesn't already know, you know?
Right. I know.
But I landed on Michael Chiesa. I thought this would be a good fight, a good test of Dalby to see where he's at in that sense. And honestly, at this point, to see where Chiesa's at, because he's had a little bit of a rough go lately.
I like that too. Yeah,
I mean,
so
Chiesa's been, Chiesa's been killing it in his, building his commentary career. I loved lightweight Chiesa. I feel like welterweight, it's just, it's a tough, I feel like it's been a tougher weight class for him.
Dog, I can tell you that as a person who has stood next to Chiesa, he ain't making 155. It's not.
He's never making 155 again. He got so fucking
tall
big.
Guy.
He's a big welterweight.
He is a massive human being. Like he's way bigger than I thought he was. He ain't going nowhere near 155. Not safely, anyway.
He's listed at 6'1".
Yeah. He's thick though. That's a thick boy. He's not skinny, man.
At this point, yeah, he let himself fill out when he came up for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Let's talk about the Brazilian, Mr. Gabriel Bonfim. The hype train has momentarily stopped. Omar, think about who at welterweight you'd want to see him at next to maybe right the ship.
I feel like it's more than just stopped. I feel like we done come off the tracks just a little bit. Bonfim done got fucked up, man. That was a rough one. I think you got to pump the brakes a little bit, right? I think we had the nice prospect moment. It's his first loss. It's not like he's going anywhere, right? He's still a great fighter at this point. But I do think you need to pump the brakes. I think they were trying to throw him in this deep water to see how far he could swim, and the man almost drowned. So let's take it back a step, and let's give him somebody like Max Griffin, who comes in there to scrap, and let's see what we can do.
That's a great one, Mark.
Exact same matchup.
Hey, let's go. Let's go.
I think you don't want to, bump him back too far or anything. Obviously, we see the talent that he has, but I think you put him in there against another veteran guy who knows how to win fights and can be tricky and poses some threats, and you see if he can pass that test.
Yep, that's a great way. If for Max Griffin to win that fight too, like just taking the Bonfim part aside, but Max Griffin getting Bonfim on his resume as a win, that's a big moment for Max Griffin.
Yeah, and he's coming off the loss to Morales, so there's no reason that he wouldn't be taking that fight. So yeah, 100%. It's a good fight for both of them, I think.
100%.
Bonfim, he's only like 21-1 now, so it's not like he's like suddenly a bum. But as he's marching up into these UFC, rankings further and further up, again, like Max Griffin is the kind of guy who is a real veteran of the sport now. He's not going to be intimidated by a guy just because he has some great record coming into the UFC. He's not going to be intimidated. He's not going to back down. He has a complete skill set in Max Griffin, so that's a good one. I hope they make that. Man, that'd be great bragging rights for you guys.
I'm not always super sold on dudes that are undefeated in general, just because there's still those questions to be answered on how he can take a loss. How does he come back from a loss, right? Gabriel Bonfim been riding a nice little wave. He's been, messing dudes up here and there. Does the confidence take a hit now, right? Is it just a loss? We can just brush it aside and just keep working and, but is it now a concern? Is he going to now be concerned that somebody can crack him the way that he just got cracked? You know what I mean? There's just questions now that need to be answered that we've never had to do with Bonfim before. And I think we'll get a better sense of who he is as an overall fighter in his next fight and whether he's really that championship caliber or just a decent fighter that we'll see kind of throughout the UFC years.
That's an interesting thought. I don't know if I agree. I feel like to be undefeated in MMA is a big deal because I feel like it's so hard to be undefeated in MMA.
I don't disagree with you, but you also have to take account the level of resume, right? Bonfim has fought people that just weren't at his caliber, but we as a fan base are trying to figure out what that ceiling is for him, right? Everybody's hyping him up. He could be champion, and he just got his ass mollywopped by Nicolas Dalby. And it's not to say that Gabriel Bonfim can't be champion, but now he's got that loss, right? Now he's got something that could prevent him mentally from doing well in his next fight. I'm not saying that it will, but we don't know. And I think that's more my point is now we'll get a better sense as to who he is as a fighter having to come back from adversity.
It just makes me think of like boxing, like so many more guys in boxing. I feel like everybody's undefeated in boxing because they all wait until they're all making millions to fight each other.
But here's an example. Max Holloway, right? We've seen Max Holloway lose. It doesn't, for me, take any shine away from who he is as a fighter by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, knowing how he loses and comes back in his next fight, almost like, not to say that it doesn't affect him, but you could see that he still puts on the best performance. There's nothing that really changes his confidence after he loses a fight, right? He accepts it, he learns from it, he builds off of it, and we continue to move on. We don't know if Bonfim can do that. Hopefully he can, and we see him better in the cage next time. But we've also seen fighters who are undefeated all of a sudden start losing 3-4 in a row out of nowhere. And then we don't see them in the UFC anymore. So just an interesting point.
Let us move on.
I agree with both of you.
Congrats to Nicolas Dalby, man. That fight gave me fucking chills, bro.
No, it did.
It did. Or I'm sorry that happened.
Okay. Moving on back up to the heavyweights. Rodrigo Nascimento defeats Don'Tale Mayes once again, this time by unanimous decision. The scorecards read 30-27, 29-28, and 29-28, all for the winner, the hometown guy, the Brasileiros Nascimento. Mark, give us your thoughts.
All right, I'm going to try to be a little quicker from here just because we have a lot to do and we got to preview this pay-per-view still. But, Rodrigo came out hard, man. He was walking down Mayes all fight long. He was very willing to exchange, which you would think was not the easiest route to victory against a long, powerful striker that Mayes is, when obviously Nascimento had the grappling to potentially fall back on. But he made it work. I mean, he certainly ate a few to do it. There was some solid exchanges between them, and Mayes definitely had a couple moments in there and may have even won round 3, I think. I didn't rewatch it, but I thought he might have taken that round live. But it was already 2-0 Nascimento at that point. So now he's beaten Mays with his grappling. The first fight, he's beaten him with his striking this fight, and we'll see now if he has earned himself a ranked opponent.
Omar?
At some point, I would love to see heavyweights throw straight punches instead of just looping shit all the time. Like, you'd be surprised how often these guys are susceptible to just one right down the pipe. But they're so big and so powerful that they just want... I feel like there's just that instinct to just, like, if I could just get him with this one big punch, like, he's dead. You ain't wrong. But at the same time, you're not getting there. And we spent so long in that fight just winging stuff that was not landing. And no adjustments were really being made. I got to be honest, I really didn't care for this fight. I don't like the sloppiness of a lot of the heavyweights. I've said it before. Dontel Mays went through he ate some shit in that fight, though, I will say. Nascimento did catch him a few times in there. But, I just think I was never sold on Mays, and I think Nascimento still has a little bit more to prove, I think, in that sense as well. But it's just one of those heavyweight fights that I can't bang with, man.
Yeah, I agree. For a fight that was this high up on the card, I just felt like it was a scrap.
A weird placement.
It was a scrap,
Yeah, I mean, there was a point where Dontel Mays was against the cage, like egging him on. Like, if Dontel Mays wasn't getting lit up in those moments, I don't know. It's weird.
Let's quickly talk about where these two heavyweights can go from here. First, Rodrigo Nascimento. Mark, give me a name.
I'm going with Tai Tuivasa. I said it back when Tai lost his fight that I was eyeing the winner of this fight for him, and I know it seems like a big name in Tai for a guy who maybe shouldn't be getting that big of a name in Nascimento. But I'm looking at it more from the Tai side, which is why I said this back when we talked about Tai's last fight. He's been finished in 3 straight. I think he needs a step down. I think he needs to show he can still beat a guy like a Rodrigo Nascimento. And on the flip side, Nascimento does need to fight a ranked fighter at this point. So that's where I'm going.
Omar?
I had written down Augusto Sakai, and I think I was looking at a different set of rankings, and now I don't know if that really makes sense.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone from the UFC.
He's gone, right?
Yep.
Sons of bitches. Goddamn list wasn't updated. This is why I need access to the Priaulx rankings. This man has them behind a gold vault.
I had someone working on a website, man. I think he was nearly done, and then we just...
He was nearly done.
Stopped conversing, but we should check in again.
We should probably do that.
Hey, do you still have that on your server?
I think he does.
I don't hate the Tai Tuivasa pick. I just feel like it's a big jump for Nascimento, personally. But
who did you pick?
Apparently, I had Augusto Sakai, but apparently they tossed him the fuck out. So my pick has gone to hell.
Did Nascimento get ranked? I didn't even look.
15
right now. Oh, 15. Okay, yeah. So he's in. Yeah, he's got to get a ranked fighter. You would think.
Yeah.
Cool.
Honestly, I know I said Alexander Romanov for Derrick Lewis, but Nascimento might be a good fight for Derrick Lewis too.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to the middleweights. This was a fun scrap. Caio Borralho defeats Abus Magomedov by unanimous decision. The scorecards read 30-27, 29-28, and 29-28. All, once again, for the hometown boy, the Brazilian Caio Borralho. Omar, give us your thoughts.
It's a scrap, man. Borralho is good, though. And I think we talked about this, when we were all watching the fight, that Abus seems to have a very small gas tank, or at least runs through it fairly quickly. And he does throw things with a lot of power. He doesn't always land things, which I think takes away a lot of the gas that he has in the first place. But he doesn't really seem to pace himself for the eventuality of what might be a 15-minute fight, potentially even more. God help him if that was a 25-minute fight, right? And Borralho, everybody's going to get tired in there. I don't think anybody's getting out of a 15-minute fight not tired. But Abus seems to hit a real hard wall once we get into the 8-minute mark of a fight. And Borralho was able to completely take over and really just end up stealing that fight, like getting away with that fight completely. And I thought it was a good adjustment from Borralho to kind of push the pace and really take advantage of the fact that that Magomedov was tired. I had Borralho winning all 3 rounds, but I think the first round was probably the most competitive, I think you could say, and arguable, I guess, as to who won that fight. But 2 and 3, I thought were for Borralho easy.
Mark?
Caio really came out and was willing to put his back against the wall down a round with 2 to go. Because he was pretty inactive in round 1. But it worked out. You know, you could tell in round 1 he wasn't going to commit to much unless he saw a big opening, and he really just wanted that time to elapse so that the cardio of Abus could drop a bit. But then on the flip, you also had Abus notably fighting more composed and trying to conserve his cardio. So it was really a strange round 1 where no one committed to that much. I thought Abus did take it. And then he got the gift of the big delay from the eye poke toward the end of round 1. So he got a big break, and it still didn't matter. By the end of round 2, he was already slowing down. Caio was taking over, and then it was pretty early into round 3 when he truly hit a wall again and had nothing left. You can't pick this guy to win fights right now, man. I understand he's dangerous, but it seems like he has 10 minutes of cardio if he's lucky. I mean, it might be 5 depending on the day. And it got exposed again. You know, Caio fought a smart fight. He upped the aggression each round. And then in round 3, he really took the fight over. I thought maybe he'd find a sub once they hit the mat. That would have been nice for him to finish it that way. But
yeah,
either way, he definitely did do enough to secure the win. And he showed again that he is well-rounded, that he's not just a grappler. And Abus got to figure some things out.
Yeah, man. It does seem like the man's got a lot of fast twitch muscle, and he carries a lot of muscle, and it takes its toll. I mean, kind of similar to Gabriel Bonfim. Like, he's a guy who came into the UFC with a fair bit of hype himself. He looked good in his first UFC bout or 2, and then he runs into Strickland. And it's like, you run into a level that it's like, oh, okay, this is right now is where his ceiling's at. Let's talk about where Caio Borralho should go from here at middleweight. The man is legit, I believe. Mark, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really want to kind of pull the trigger and say someone like a Jack Hermanson, who hasn't fought in a while, who needs to defend his spot in the rankings at this point. And I think Caio makes sense as someone to do that against. He looks like he might be that level of fighter. Maybe that's a bit too aggressive. If it is, then I guess my other option would be like a Brad Tavares, I think is a pretty logical next step. But I don't hate if he kind of skips that step and goes right to a fight like the one I mentioned.
Omar?
Yeah, he is currently not ranked, so that would be a hell of a jump for sure. I had for Borralho the loser of Andre Muniz and Junyoung Park. I think that fight's coming up in December, so I think that'd be an interesting one to see.
Nice. Okay, let's move on to another fight that had me on the edge of my seat. Rinat Fakhretdinov and Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos ends in a majority draw. Fakhretdinov drops Zaleski in the first round. Zaleski comes back, thundering back in the second round. In the third round, more of the same. Ends up dropping Fakhretdinov and nearly finishes him. Didn't quite have enough in the tank. And the third round bell rings and it ends in a majority draw. Omar, what were your thoughts watching this? Were you biting your nails on the edge of your seat like me?
I mean, a little bit. You got to give credit to Dos Santos, though. I mean, that dude's got he's got a chin on him, man, because he was getting cracked in the beginning of that fight, clean. And he was able to survive from it. He was able to kind of, work from the bottom and not get completely destroyed from bottom, work his way back up, separated, kind of seemed like he cleared the cobwebs. But I thought Rinat obviously took the first 2 rounds and he was very good. I think where there's opportunity there to sort of take advantage of him seems to be in how much weight he puts into all of his strikes. Obviously, when he lands, he hurts people. But when you have leg kicks that are involved, and you saw it couple times throughout that fight, you can just remove the base. You know, if you time it right, especially if I'm stuck on this fucking guy now. If Fakhretdinov is continuously putting weight on those punches, winging those punches, he's putting so much weight on that front leg that a nice little leg kick right to the calf at the right time is going to take his whole base out from under him. And you did see that happen at least one or two times from Zaleski dos Santos towards the legs of Rinat. So there are definitely some things there that could probably use up some tightening that don't make him as vulnerable in fights in certain situations. But I thought it was a great performance, honestly, from both dudes. They were scrapping from beginning to end, regardless of how that fight came out. I could definitely see why there was a 10-8 in the third round. I think Rinat almost got finished, twice? Maybe, was it twice? I feel like it was twice. Could have been twice. Either way, he was definitely close to being stopped. So there was definitely an argument for a 10-8 round. So not really mad at the draw.
Mark, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. We actually got a correctly scored draw here, which was nice to see. What a fight this was. Good for my boy Zaleski getting himself some shine here. And he came real friggin' close, as you guys said, to getting Rinat out of there. If he would have continued to the body once they hit the ground instead of the head, I think he may have had a better shot, because Rinat was really hurt to the body, and you could tell even when Zaleski did go to the body a couple times when they hit the ground, it looked like it was still bothering Rinat, and then he switched to the head and stayed there. So you never know. But either way, what a comeback from him. I did have him pretty clearly down 2 rounds. He got dropped bad in round 1, had to deal with Rinat on top of him, and worked his way back up to gain some confidence back there when it looked like he was in some trouble. And round 2, I think he absolutely did still lose. He was getting outstruck, but he was getting Renat's timing down a bit as the round went on. He was investing to the body. Renat's punches were getting slower. They were getting longer, a little loopier.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And then in round 3, it all came together. And as I said, he came real freaking close to getting it done. But props to Rinat also, man. He pushes a great pace. He's always walking forward. His punches are so long, and it seems like they always find a way to land. Even when his opponents think that they've stepped out of range, they still get clipped at the end of the punches. But he did slow down a bit here, and he definitely lost a little bit of that invincibility aura, kind of like we were saying about Chimaev last week. I think same thing here, to see him almost finish the way that he was. That unstoppable aura he had is kind of gone a bit. But it doesn't change that he's still very good, and Zaleski shows those who may not have known that he is very good. So great fight from both men. I enjoyed watching it, and draw was the correct call.
He's still very good. I'm sure whoever he faces next, he will fuck up. That being said, who might that person be, Mark?
So I doubt this gets run back because it was a draw or anything like that. I think they both move on with other opponents. I think they're in very similar spots, which I guess makes sense considering they just drew. But for Zaleski, I am going to go with the Leech. I think that's the kind of opportunity that he deserves. I don't know what – I think Jing Liang is due back pretty soon. He's been out for a minute. So hopefully I'm right about that. So I will go with Zaleski and the Leech. And for Rinat, I'm going to go with Alex Morono.
Nice. Thanks for giving them both to me at the same time. Omar.
You're welcome.
Yeah, those are both names that I definitely ran through as I was trying to pick somebody that made sense. I landed on Pons, actually, for Zaleski dos Santos, and I landed on Kevin Holland for Rinat.
Oh, boy.
Exactly.
Nice.
Poor Kevin Holland.
Yeah. Okay, one more.
I'm not saying he can't win. I'm just saying, like, fuck, that's a hard one.
It is a hard one. They're all hard ones. Okay, one more before we hop into the lightning round. Angela Hill, UD over Denise Gomes. Omar?
Yeah, I mean, we said it last week, man. Gomes, and actually, so Angela Hill, I think, said it best at the end of this fight, is Gomes is going to be somebody. I think Gomes, you can see she has the talent. She has the ability to go far, I think, in this sport and in this division. I just don't think it's her time right now, right? I think Angela Hill definitely took advantage of the experience differential that there was, and earned a win for sure. But skill for skill, Denise Gomes is a fucking problem. Like, she definitely made Angela Hill work for that win. I'm glad Angela Hill finally won a fight where we didn't have to wonder who won a fight. That was really nice. And I got to say, I think that was really Angela Hill's best performance that I can remember of recent memory anyway. So great time to be on her A game. Great time to come out and show out the way that she did. I love the fight. I had Angela Hill winning all 3 rounds. So I thought it was a great fight.
Mark?
Yeah, she fought so well in this fight. She came out and immediately set a tone and let Gomes know that she was not going to bully her in that fight. And then from that point on, it was kind of a clinic on being all the way out or all the way in. You know, anytime Gomes got her in that phone booth range where she could throw hammers, Angela Hill kind of just ducked inside and clinched up. She was stronger in the clinch. She was landing a lot of nice knees. And then when they separated, she did well to strike from range, like I said. And maybe best of all for her, she showed her grappling, and she kind of showcased it in round 3, which is an area that she is always improving in, and it is really becoming like a tool in the bag for her now at this point. So just a solid veteran win for Angela Hill, and she really did to Gomes exactly what I thought she could. So that was nice to see. And I think it's the kind of loss that Gomes can learn from and be back.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Okay, let's move along a little further. Omar, who do you think could be next? Matchup, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Omar, you go first this time. Give me the names for these 2 ladies before we go to the lightning round.
So for Angela Hill, honestly, I was having trouble trying to nail down one. There's so many good options, I think, for Angela Hill at this point. But I landed on either Tabatha Ricci or the loser of Amanda Ribas and Luana Pinheiro. And yeah.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, those are both good options, and I thought about both of those too. I mean, I guess Ricci is someone I did list here. Because she's fought so many of these girls. A lot of them are booked right now or out for different reasons, like Tisha and Esparza and whoever. So, yeah, the 2 thoughts in my head are Ricci if she wins on Saturday, or even Andrade if she loses on Saturday.
Ooh, I don't hate that, actually. That's a good one.
Not at all. Not at all. Let's see. Let's go into our lightning round now.
Wait.
Ready?
Wait, did we do Denise Gomes?
Oh, Mike
Okay,
hasn't
give
been
me
letting
Denise
us do the losers. We only did 2 in the last one because it was a draw.
Okay, give me Denise Gomes.
Well, she done fucked up my girl Jasmine Hadagui, so let's put her in with my other girl, Ismael Lucindo. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
I got Emily Ducote for her. I think that's a solid scrap.
I'm not mad at it.
Lightning round. Here we go. Elvis Brenner, round 1 knockout over Khrushchevsky. Mark, go.
Elvis Brenner shows out again. Unfortunately for him, he got handed a late notice opponent. You know, not huge name value there, but he still made the win matter about as much as he could, getting a first-round KO. And that was the 3rd time he threw that right-hand step-through, left-hand combo. So he must have seen it and really believed it would land because he was kind of going back to the well with it. But obviously he was right. 3rd time was a charm because Khrushchevsky went down hard. So, yeah, great knockout, great moment for him in Brazil.
Yeah, man. Omar.
Dude, it didn't even look like it hit him flush, man. It looked like it just grazed his temple, but the switch went off, completely off. Khrushchevsky went right down and was not getting back up. Elvis Brenner is here, man. It's a very, very interesting prospect, and it's very interesting to see kind of where he goes from here because from a skill perspective, watching him fight, he's pretty fucking good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see what this ceiling looks like, man, because he could be a real issue at this weight class.
For sure. Okay. Vitor Petrino, round 2 knockout over Modestas Bukauskas. Omar.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, man. First of all, Petrino is another one who of these kind of guys that likes to wing punches and throw really wide looping hooks. Mm-hmm. But as we have seen in this fight, when you connect with those punches, you can knock somebody straight the fuck out. So Petrino definitely walked away with a W. I would think he might want to tighten it up a little bit, but he had a great performance in this fight, no doubt.
Mark?
Yeah, I got a similar take. I mean, first off, it's obvious since the day we first saw Petrino that he is a big, powerful dude, and that shot certainly put Bukauskas out. But I can't decide yet if I think Petrino is like beat ranked guys type of good, or if his technique isn't quite where it needs to be, and that he's more just like a crushing lower level guys type of good. So that remains to be seen for me. I would also like to see him tighten it up a little bit, but we're kind of hitting that point where we're going to find out soon enough, and because he keeps finishing these dudes. So I'm excited to see it because he does seem well-rounded. The strength is there, the danger is there, and obviously that was a great walk-off KO for him in Brazil. So we'll see where he goes next.
Okay, Eduardo Mora, round 2 knockout over Monstrat Ruiz. Mark.
This was just a bullying. I mean, straight bullying. Mora was as advertised, specifically in her jiu-jitsu. There was nothing Ruiz could do underneath her. Plus, Mora was way bigger. Granted, she missed weight, which is not the best. You would hope she can get that in order. But wow, that was dominant. She looks like she may be a factor in that division already, just based off on how good she looked in that debut.
Yeah. Omar?
100%. I mean, she completely outclassed Conejo in that fight. I can't imagine Ruiz will be back after this loss. I would probably expect some walking papers soon. But Mora did work, man. All the hype that seemed to come with her debut here really showed. I mean, her ground game I thought was exceptional. Her control, her aggression from top. I mean, she looked good. She looked real good in this fight.
Okay, last one. Mark Jacasey, split decision over Canu. How did he say his name? Canu Fernandez?
What was I saying? Kawe?
Kawe? Sorry.
I forget.
Either way. Omar, go.
Yeah, this is seemingly becoming the story of Mark Jacasey, where, you know, there was a time long ago when Mark Jacasey was a striker, and somewhere along the line he got tired of getting bullied on the ground, and he's become the bully on the ground now, and he takes people down, he controls them on the ground. Not the most exciting fights, but you know, he definitely did work, and he had to work for it as well. I mean, this fight definitely wasn't like a dominant performance like the Almeida and the Lewis one, as we were talking about earlier. But Jacasey is using his wrestling to get his wins at this point, so good on him.
Mark, take it home.
Yeah, Caio Fernandez didn't look bad. You can tell he's a dangerous striker, and it'll be interesting to see him in his next one. But yeah, as we know, the new Mark Jacasey is a well-rounded guy, and against most opponents, he's kind of able to lean on that well-roundedness and find whatever's going to be the easiest route to victory for himself, and he did the same thing again here. He won the latter 2 rounds of this fight. He may have even won the first, honestly. I wasn't sure when I watched it live, but he certainly took 2 and 3. You know, it was competitive the whole way, don't get me wrong, but he did win it, and he fought well, and he gets another dub.
That does it, folks. And that is UFC Fight Night, Almeida versus Lewis in the bag. Let's put a bow on this one, and let's find out who rose and who fell in Mark's very own rankings, the Priaulx Rankings. Mark.
All right, not as many notable moves as you may imagine. Only 3. No fallers this week, 3 risers. The 3 starting from the bottom, Eduardo Mora, obvious one. She was not ranked. She jumps into the women's strawweight rankings at number 30 after getting her debut victory over Ruiz. Next one, Zaleski dos Santos. I had him move up. To me, this was a him moving up type of draw, not a Rinat moving down. So Rinat has not really moved in my ranks. Zaleski has jumped from number 34 to number 24 on the back of the draw. He was I was debating if I had him a little too low anyway, and I think he's worthy of a jump after the draw. So he's my number 24 welterweight now. And then last one, obvious one, Jailton Almeida. He was my number 10 heavyweight, and he is now my number 7 ranked heavyweight. And I actually never even looked. I was curious how high the UFC put him. I'm looking now. 7 as well. There you go. And that is it. Yep.
Wow. Good stuff. Okay, Omar, take us inside the MMA sphere. What's going on in the headlines of the MMA world outside of the cage?
Well, the UFC antitrust case has broken open some potential information regarding the pay of UFC champions and UFC pay-per-view moments. So we about to get into people's business right now. Looks like Anderson Silva made about $4.37 million for his rematch against Chris Weidman at UFC 168. That was the leg break incident. For almost $4.5 million for that. It was the highest compensation that he received in his UFC career, roughly $100,000 more than his short notice fight versus Daniel Cormier at UFC 200. They put Anderson Silva's business all fucking out there. So we got $2.5 million versus Vitor Belfort, $2 million against Yushin Okami, $2.5 million against Chael Sonnen 2. Chael Sonnen got $1 million apparently for that fight. $2 million for Stephan Bonner versus Stephan Bonner, not for Stephan Bonner. $3 million for Chris Weidman. Like we just alluded to, almost $4.5 million for Chris Weidman 2. Almost $3.5 million versus Nick Diaz, the infamous laying down in the canvas incident. We got $3.25 million versus Michael Bisping and $4.2 million versus Daniel Cormier. Apparently, they also put out Ronda Rousey's shit as well, and she made a good amount of money towards the latter half of her career here, making millions of dollars against even Betch Correia, Holly Holm, Amanda Nunes, like a few $1 million. John Jones has been making, looks like upwards of $1 million since Quentin Jackson fight, which was UFC 135.
Wow.
George St. Pierre was making $4 million. He made $4 million against Jake Shields, my guy. Jesus Christ. That dude definitely made, I think, the most money out of all of them. Other than, I think, Conor McGregor, obviously. But you want to talk about Red Panty Night? Jose Aldo got paid $250K for Ricardo Lamas. $350K for Chad Mendes, too. $2.37 million for Conor McGregor.
Wow.
That's Red Panty Night right there.
Yeah, man.
There's some articles online about Conor McGregor's pay and all these other pay that the information seems to be coming from the, I guess, exposed or revealed documents as a result of the antitrust lawsuit going forward. And it is going to trial, which was a big thing. So they're officially going to trial. From what I understand, there won't be any more continuances. One of the legal strategies apparently is to just keep delaying shit until people like run out of money or can't do it anymore, or like whatever. So they've put the kibosh on that. The fighter, I guess if you want to call them a fighters union or whatever, they took a W on that one as well. So there will be a trial, I believe, going down the first quarter of 2024, if I remember reading that right. But there's some crazy information here in regards to pay and stuff like that. It's pretty interesting to see how much these guys or some of the top guys at least, are getting paid. It looks like the most that McGregor got paid was the Eddie Alvarez fight. That dude almost got $7 million for that fight.
Wow.
That's fucking crazy.
Wow.
Grabbing some water real fast while you guys talk.
Yeah. All right. Next on the list, Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg, we all know, has been training. He's been in the MMA world, training real fighters, learning from real fighters, sparring real fighters. And your man has gotten a real injury. And the boy tore his ACL sparring, got out of surgery already, and he looks like he is fucked up for the time being, and will more than likely not, be doing any kind of competitive stuff until probably next year at this point. So hope he does well. I respect the hell out of that kid for putting in the work that actually goes into training and stuff like that. Like, you can say whatever you want about him being rich and resources and things like that. You could have all the resources in the world. Doesn't mean you're actually going to train and take it seriously and do the work that's necessary. So good for him for actually putting in the work. I really respect it. All right, couple of announcements here. We can move right along. Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira 2 will not be headlining UFC 297 in Toronto on January 20th. As of right now, Oliveira seems to be the most likely 155-pound challenger, although Dana White, like usual, seems pretty malleable about that not being necessarily a fact. More like a, heavy assumption that is what is going to be the case, but anything is possible, especially if people start putting on wild performances before this goes down. But Islam Makhachev said that he will be ready to go as early as March 9th. So we won't expect to see anything before that point at this point. Bellator Women's Featherweight Champion Chris Cyborg. Her next professional fight will not be in Bellator. It will be boxing, and her opponent will be Kelsey Wickstrom. I wish I could tell you more about who that is, but I'm not entirely sure. Clarissa Shields did call out Chris Cyborg. That did not happen, and this is where we are at now. All right. Couple of fight announcements here. Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez is be headlining UFC Shanghai on December 9th. We might have shared that already, but it is official at this point in the event that we already did. Andre Fili versus Lucas Almeida has been added to UFC's 296 event on December 16th. Farid Basharat versus Taylor Lapilus has been added to UFC's Vegas card on January 13th. Jan Blachowicz. I'm on it. Jan Blachowicz versus Alexander Rakic 2 is in the works for UFC 297 on January 20th in Toronto.
There we go.
Raquel Pennington versus Moira Buena Silva has also been added to that card on January 20th. And Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis will be headlining UFC 297 in Toronto again on January 20th. Alexander Volkanovski versus Ila Topuria has been added officially to UFC 298 in February. And Sean O'Malley versus Chito Vera 2 has been added to UFC's 299 event in March. They've already started talking mad shit to each other, so cannot wait for that one. And that is all we have for you this week.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, because are they going to make Volk? Are they going to make O'Malley and Chito a co-main to get Islam and Oliveira on that card? Because if they don't, then we got to wait for Ramadan to pass, where Islam is probably not going to be training, and then for him to train. And, that fight's probably not happening until summer, which is the last thing we want right now, because Gaethje's fucking sitting there waiting for his shot. So I hope they get this Islam-Charles fight happening on this March card, because I don't know what the fuck is going on if they don't.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, are you ready?
Let's do it, baby.
All right. This coming weekend, Saturday, November 11th, UFC 295 going down at Madison Square Garden in New York City, New York, USA. And will be headlined by Yuri Prochazka taking on Alex Pereira for the undisputed UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. And co-headline in the heavyweight division by Sergey Pavlovich and Tom Aspinall for the up for grabs interim heavyweight championship. Before we talk about the fights that we are going to talk about, are there any other fights or fighters that you guys want to spotlight?
I guess the one that I'll spotlight, because we're going to go through quite a few of them, but Dennis Bazooka's on this card. He fights out of the Serra-Longo team in, what is that island over there? Long Island.
Jesus Christ. You've been out of New York for that long, huh? Fuck.
And the other one to look out for is Roosevelt Roberts. He's now on his second stint in the UFC after coming off a decent run on the last season of Tough. Looked really good. Looks like he's got some good momentum, so it'll be interesting to see how this run in the UFC goes.
Yeah, I'm also intrigued by that Roberts fight. I'm happy to see him get a shot back in the UFC. I wish it didn't have to be on such short notice. This was announced, I think, only a few days ago. I'm blanking on who Rebeski was supposed to be fighting at the moment that fell out. But Roberts stepped up to his advantage. He is going to have a 7-inch height and 7-inch reach advantage, so that is huge for him. But Rebeski's kind of a beast, so it's kind of going to be basically a tank versus a, I don't know what you call the tall side of things here, but that's an interesting fight. And then I also like the Nazim Sadikov versus Vyacheslav Borshov fight. Borshov's a guy who we've always known is super talented on the feet. His issue is just that he couldn't stop himself from being out-grappled. But he trains with Team Alpha Male. You got to think he's drilling it every day. He has started to show some improvement there. And I feel like this is kind of the perfect one right now where it's not like Sadikov is some dominant grappler, but he can get you. Obviously, he's sub-Terrence McKinney. So I'm curious to see if Borshov can pass this test or not. So I'm intrigued by that one.
FYI, Rebeski was supposed to fight Nurulo Aliyev.
Ah, yes, right. Yep.
All right, guys. Let's start with our first fight. Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira. I'm kidding. Let's see. We're starting things off with Jared Gordon versus Mark Madsen down in the lightweight division. Do you guys like how we have completely abandoned the middle initial? I'm like, screw the middle initial. It's too confusing for the people, for the public, especially for the commentary table.
I've long abandoned it. Fuck that middle initial.
Okay, so
right,
let me
just
cue
doing
this
quick
up.
intros on these until the main card, or are you doing your full spiel?
Yeah, sure. Quick intros. Jared Gordon, he's awesome. Mark Madsen, the Olympian, he's great too. Mark, give me your thoughts and your pick.
I didn't mean to rush you. I couldn't tell if you were throwing it to me or not. Oh man.
Mark Madsen, he's cool. Jared Gordon, he's great. Let's go.
Both these guys fight. Both have arms and legs. Got him.
Okay. We're good.
Oh man. Okay, get it together. All right. Maybe surprisingly wide odds. I don't know what you guys think, but Jared Gordon's almost 2-1. He is a -190 favorite. And
Wow,
Mark
that
Madsen
is surprising to me.
160. Agree. I thought it was going to be really close.
Whoa.
Yeah, I did too. I'm not particularly sold on either guy, for being wholly honest, but I didn't think it'd be that wide.
I mean,
I thought
I'm
Madsen would
basically-
be the favorite.
Did you? See, I didn't know who I thought would be favored, but I thought it would be really like -130 in whatever direction is what I kind of expected. But yeah, I was about to make the same point Omar just did. Quickly first, 1 inch of height for Gordon, but 4 inches of reach for Madsen. And this is a really tough call for me for two reasons. One is, as you guys probably know if you've listened to this show for a while, I have never been too sold on either one of these guys. So I'm struggling to believe in a certain one right off of that. Second reason is because Jared Gordon is absolutely the better overall mixed martial artist here. But it's possible that Madsen's wrestling is good enough to just make that not matter. And that's where I'm struggling, because I don't love Mark Madsen's wrestling against higher-level dudes like Grant Dawson, who I fully expected would shut it down, and he did. But maybe Jared Gordon is just at that level where Madsen's wrestling does still work. But I think I'm going to choose to trust Gordon more than Madsen here. We've seen him deter some wrestling before. He is strong in the clinch. He does have some grappling chops, so I think he maybe might just have just enough of a complete game to eke this one out. It wouldn't shock me to see either guy fall flat, honestly, but I'm going to pick a close fight that ends in a Jared Gordon split decision victory.
Okay, Omar.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this fight's eventually just going to be really contested in the grappling. I think we're going to see a lot of I don't see the striking of Jared Gordon being able to make too much of a difference. That dude hasn't TKO'd anybody in like years. 2017 was the last time he won by a stoppage that wasn't a submission. So like I don't really think we have anything to worry about in that sense. I also don't think Mark Madsen really can strike all that well either, so I don't think we're having to worry about that from the Gordon perspective as well. But I do think this is going to be a really grappling heavy fight. I think there's going to be a lot of cage time. I think if they are able to get it down to the ground, I think there's probably going to be a lot of time spent down there. But I expect Mark Madsen to be the one doing a lot of that pushing forward and trying to go for the takedowns. And I just think Gordon potentially will just get, I guess, overrun with having to defend and maybe not being able to get his game off. So I'm going to trust that Madsen, there it is. I'm going to trust that Madsen gets the wrestling going and comes out on top for a unanimous decision.
I too think that this fight is very close on paper, at least. But I agree with the sentiment that Jared Gordon is going to be the more well-rounded and complete mixed martial artist in the cage. Mark Madsen mainly looks to use that Olympic wrestling pedigree, as we know, sometimes desperately so. But Jared Gordon, I believe, is a very good grappler himself. I think he has enough grappling skill to, I'll say, negate Madsen's grappling attack, and will score enough on the feet and with the strikes. And I think he's going to come away with a UD. So UD for Jared Flash Gordon, who, by the way, beat Paddy Pimblett and then got speared with Bobby Green's skull. So his only loss in his past several fights should be Grant Dawson. So there you have it. I think I'm trying to say that I think Jared Gordon has come into his own a little bit these past few years.
You have always been the person on this show of the three of us who most believes in Jared Gordon.
This is true.
So we'll see if your belief serves correct here. I picked him, so hope
it's a good test. It's a good test.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
I'll tell you what, there's what are we doing? We're doing 8 fights. I think I flip-flopped on 6 of these fights, literally. There's a lot of tough calls.
This next one's a tough call.
Yep.
It sure is. Hold on one second. Okay, the next one up is Tabatha Ricci versus Lupita Godinez. Mark, go first this time.
Sorry, I'm trying to still input the odds for some of these last fights. Okay, this one. Okay, Lupi, another one that's wider than I thought it was going to be. Lupi is minus 170. Tabatha Ricci is plus 145 as the dog. I didn't even know who would be favored here, so to see minus 170 again surprises me. But 1 inch of height for Lupi. The reach is identical. I have not been 100% sold on Tabatha Ricci, which maybe I am wrong to not be. I've still been picking her in all her fights until this last fight against Jillian Robertson, which obviously I got very wrong. And Ricci's obviously very talented, but I think I'm going to pick against her again. I've always been a believer in Lupi. I truly think she's improving leaps and bounds as of late, especially in her striking, and even more in her fight management and her blending of her skills. I've always said in the past about her that it feels like she gets too stuck in I'm going to strike in this fight or I'm going to wrestle in this fight, and her game feels incomplete. And I thought it really jumped off the page in her last fight, the way she was finally naturally blending different aspects of her game and timing when she wanted to wrestle and wanted to strike. And I thought it was the best Lupi we've ever seen. Ricci's a tough matchup. She might be quicker, which is a factor. She looked crazy quick against Jillian Robertson. But I think I'm going to trust Lupi to kind of dog this one out. I think she hits a little harder, might be a little stronger. She keeps a high pace. She has been in there with higher level opposition to this point than Ricci has. So, yeah, if Ricci wins here, I guess I'm going to have to get myself on board. But I'm going to go Lupi 29-28 UD.
I will go next. I am a fan of both of these ladies. I'm a big fan of Tabatha Baby Shark Ricci, one of the great nicknames in the sport at this current time. That being said, I completely agree with Mark's sentiment. I think that Godinez is going to be the I'll say, bigger and more physical fighter in there. And I just see her running away with this fight on the scorecards. Give me Lupi Godinez by UD. Omar?
Honestly, I think for me, the real big selling point for me are their recent performances. And the last performance from Lupi Godinez was the best Lupi Godinez I've ever seen. So if we're going to keep that momentum, we're going to keep that type of performance, that level of performance, it's going to be really hard for me to pick against Godinez at this point. So I'm going to go with Godinez here by unanimous decision, but I wouldn't honestly be surprised if she finds a way to finish Tabatha Ricci.
Wow, I did not expect us to be unanimous on that fight.
Yeah, me neither.
Her last fight was good, man. She worked Elise Reed. The
did.
performance itself was just really fucking good.
Agree. Much different level of opponent now, which is what makes it tricky. But yes, I agree.
Mm-hmm. But it's what's interesting is she's changed. For her last fight with Elise Reed, I believe, is when she recently has started training with Alexa Grasso and I think her team. Mm-hmm. And I think it seems like it's made a world of difference. And I can only imagine she's gotten better. Granted, it's only been a couple months since she last fought, but I gotta imagine we're still on that same train.
Yep.
Okay, Omar, staying with you. Last fight of the prelims, the featured bout of the prelims, going down in the flyweight division. We have Steve Astro Boy Erceg taking on Alessandro Nono Costa. What's your take and your pick?
Excuse me. I think it's a good fight. I think you've got two guys that aren't afraid to go down to the ground if they need to. Although I think because they are both in that realm, we probably will see more stand-up in this fight than we will the ground. And in that sense, I think I trust Costa just a little bit more. Fully aware that this man has been recently knocked out in the last year or so, but still think I trust him in the stand-up a little bit more than I do Erceg. So I'm going to go with Alessandro Costa by second-round knockout.
Mark?
So this is another one I was torn on. Let me give you the odds. Erceg is favored. He is another one almost 2-1. He's minus 195. Alessandro Costa is plus 160. I imagine those might be a little tighter if Costa hadn't taken it on short notice. That probably plays some part in it here. So, 4 inches of height and 1.5 inches of reach on the Erceg side of things. He's definitely the longer guy. Costa, the more built of the two at flyweight. It's a hard call because we haven't seen that much of Erceg yet. We've only seen the one fight in the UFC. Obviously, we knew he had some jiu-jitsu reputation coming in. Both of these guys have looked very good. Costa, definitely the more powerful of the two. Everything he lands is heavy. He's probably going to be ripping the legs of Erceg all fight. But I think that the length, the distance striking, and the grappling advantages that Erceg has are enough for me to give him a slight edge in this fight. So I do think it's competitive, but I'm going to say Erceg pulls it off, and I will go with another decision win.
I think that Alessandro Costa is a bit of a more dangerous finisher wherever the fight goes. So that being said, I do know that Erceg has never been finished in his 11-fight career. Tell you what, I'll say that Costa hands Erceg his first knockout loss. Give me TKO in the third round for Alessandro Nono Costa. Okay, going up into the main card, UFC 295 MSG. Where is this fight? Diego Lopes taking on Pat Sabatini in the featherweight division. Opening up this main card with a bang. Diego Lopes is the 28-year-old out of Brazil, 22-6 with 20 finishes on his record, 12 of those by submission. Most recently armbarring Gavin Tucker back in August. Pat Sabatini, a 32-year-old out of Pennsylvania, USA, 18-4 as a pro with 11 submission victories, most recently submitting Lucas Almeida back in June of this year. Mark, give us your take and your pick of Lopes versus Sabatini.
Is he the one where he was Lopes and then last fight they started saying Lopez? Or am I thinking of someone else whose name they changed?
I think you are.
Right? I think that was him. Who fucking knows? But yeah, this is a great fight. betting lines agree. They're super tight. Pat is slightly favored. He's minus 120. Diego is even money, plus 100. 3 inches of height and 2.5 inches of reach for Diego Lopes. So that's a factor. I've debated this fight a lot because I think they're both really talented dudes. I think I'd probably be picking each of them against a lot of other opponents. But obviously they run into each other here. Lopes has shown us that he's an absolute dog with a filthy jiu-jitsu game. But and I thought I was going to pick him when I first, heard this fight get announced. But the more I've thought this fight through, the more I kind of think Pat may just win a decision because I don't think he's going to get exposed really in any way on the feet. I think it may be fairly even there. And then I just don't think I see him getting tapped. And if he isn't going to get finished in either area, then I kind of think it's him that's going to be ahead on these cards simply because of the offensive wrestling. And I think he'll probably spend more time in control and on top and accumulating ground strikes, and that will be enough to get this decision. It's entirely possible that he does get tapped, which would have to put you fully on board the Diego Lopes bandwagon. And I do like that he's the bigger man here. I think that's a factor. And I almost pulled the trigger on him, but I'm going to make him show me one more time, I think, because I do believe in the round-winning ability of Pat Sabatini, and I'm going to say he wins a decision.
Omar?
I don't hate the take, but at the same time, Diego Lopes is so nasty that this is a fight I've gone back and forth on a few different times. Just because both of these guys are so goddamn good. The matchup is so good. But I think I'm going to end up going with Diego Lopes here, man. I do think there's a possibility for him to catch Pat Sabatini. I think Sabatini likes to fuck around on the ground a lot. I think there's going to be a lot of rolling around if it does get there. And Diego Lopes has got some long legs. He's very, very good on the ground. Very good opportunistic submission artist looking for those small openings to just take complete capitalization on. So I'm going to go Diego Lopes here. I think he gets it by the end, but I think it'll be a third-round submission.
You're taking Lopes or Lopez by finish in the third round. I'm also taking Lopes. I think Sabatini is too tough to get finished, but I see Diego Lopes having a few big moments in this fight over Pat Sabatini and stamping his ticket to the upper echelon, so to speak, of featherweight. Here we go. Let me clean up my tabs here for a second.
Glad I landed on Sabatini in the end. Gave us a little variety on that one.
Yeah. Okay, fun fight. Oh my God. This is one of the fights that I'm most excited about on this fucking card. And it's mostly because of the Frenchman. Matt Frevola taking on Benoit Saint-Denis. Here we go, UFC 295. We have the Steamroller Frevola, the 33-year-old out of Huntington, Long Island, New York. Omar, do you know where Long Island is? 11-3 with one draw.
Is that island? It's very long.
Sounds like a shit place to be.
Wow, ouch, man. I love Long Island.
It's fine. I just give it. It's not Staten Island. It's fine.
Poor Staten Island, man. Poor Staten Island. Okay, Matt Frevola, 11-3 with one draw. 7 of his wins finishes, and he's on a 3-fight win streak coming into this weekend. Most recently, TKOing Drew Dober earlier this year in May. And he's facing off against another heavy hitter in Benoit God of War Saint-Denis, the 27-year-old out of Paris, France. 12-1 with one no contest, with all 12 of his wins ending in a finish. 9 of them submissions, 3 knockouts or TKOs. And he's on a 4-fight win streak coming into this weekend. Most recently, TKOing Thiago Moises back in September of this year in the second round. Omar, start us off this time. Give us your take and your pick of Frevola versus Saint-Denis.
Another really good matchup. Another really good fight. 2 guys that have styles that I think will clash really well with each other. I've been on the Matt Frevola train for a little while now, on and off, to be fair. But
to stop. You get back on.
We had a little rough go there, right? We had a little turbulence, but we're back on it. But honestly, man, he's looked really, really good in his last couple fights. Definitely something has changed in his approach, and in how he's seeing and executing in these fights. He looks really fucking good. So I have a lot more confidence than I used to in him when it comes to that part of things, and I think he's going to put on a great performance against Benoit Saint-Denis. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think he gets him out of there, man. I think it's going to be a second round KO on Matt Frevola. Let's go.
All right, Benoit, a significant favorite. He is minus 230. Matt Frevola is plus 190 as the dog. 2 inches of height and 2 inches of reach for Benoit. And I guess my point I'm about to make loses a little luster considering Omar just went ahead and picked Frevola outright. But I was going to explain why this is a more intriguing fight than I think some people are making it out to be. Because I know people are heavy on Benoit right now. Obviously, he's more than 2-1 favorite. I feel like that's what I'm seeing most people picking everywhere you look, and he's on a hell of a roll, and it's very easy to ride with him, and I think I am also going to by the time I'm done here. But I want to make the point that Matt Frevola is super live for a few reasons. He is a very good wrestler. He scrambles well. And so, he may be able to deal with that Benoit wrestling better than you imagine. And he hits hard as all shit. And if there's one knock on Benoit, it's that he gets hit. Think back even to his last fight against Moises. There was more than one example of Benoit pressuring Thiago Moises and leaving his chin out there, and suddenly Moises is landing flush with a counter shot. Now, Benoit also has a great chin, so it's possible that he can eat whatever's coming at him just like he did with Moises. But Matt Frevola is a different deal. His power is very real. So I think he's super live here at home in New York, and I've really been debating going with him just because, Benoit's style is literally to walk forward without worrying about getting hit. It's what he does in every fight. And if he does that against Matt, he's walking a real thin line. But with all that being said, I find myself having a hard time not taking him. I keep going back to that I think his pace eventually turns this fight. So it's more so that if I think he can survive the first 5, I think the pace starts to overwhelm Frevola as the fight goes on. And I'm going to say that he can. So even if he doesn't have as much success as we're used to in the wrestling, I think he can clinch. I think he can make it ugly and kind of just outwork Matt as this fight goes on. So it's tight, but I'm going to say Benoit Saint-Denis UD.
Dude, Benoit Saint-Denis has earned every ounce of hype that he has coming into this weekend. After losing his UFC debut against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos by a decision, he is on a stunning 4-fight win streak. All 4 of those wins have been knockouts. He has not seen a third round in any of those 4 fights either. So the hype is there, and I believe the hype is real. And I'm going to stay on the Benoit Saint-Denis train, at least for now. I love the analysis, and I do agree that Matt Frevola is somebody that people have been perhaps overlooking a little bit. Those back-to-back losses against Saruki and McKinney didn't help, but he himself is on his own win streak, all finishes as well, and all in the first round, bear in mind. So this is a fight where I will be on the edge of my seat, and I will not be blinking at all. I'm going to tape my eyeballs open for this lightweight scrap, but I will be riding with Benoit. I don't think this is going to go to the scorecards at all. I almost want to pick a decision because I think that their danger that they both bring into the cage is going to kind of cancel each other out. But fuck that. Someone has to get finished in this fight. So I'm going with Saint-Denis. Give me Saint-Denis in the second round by knockout.
Big.
Okay. Here we go. Another awesome fight in the women's strawweight division. Jessica Andrade taking on Mackenzie Dern. Jessica Andrade no stranger to the MMA purists and casuals, perhaps. 32 years old, out of Brazil, 24-12 as a professional, with 17 finishes, 9 of them knockouts. And she's looking very, very, very much to get back to the win column. I said very 3 times because she's on a 3-fight losing streak coming into this weekend. Another tough test. No easy fights for Andrade when you're towards the top of the division. Taking on the rising star in Mackenzie Dern. She's the 30-year-old out of Phoenix, Arizona, USA. 13-3 as a professional, with 7 submission wins on her record. She's coming off of a UD win over Angela Hill. Omar, start us off this time. Give us your take and your pick of Andrade versus Dern. You're muted.
I don't know why I feel like Mackenzie Dern is so much bigger than Jessica Andrade, because I doubt she really is. But there's just some length that I feel like that Mackenzie Dern has on Andrade that...
You want the number?
Yeah, I can't shake it.
It's not... I mean, the height, she's 3 inches taller, but only 1 inch of reach.
Huh.
Okay. Yeah, the real problem I have is Andrade sometimes has an issue getting up there with the strikes, right? Like sometimes I feel like she ends up reaching quite a bit, leaving herself exposed. The other side of things is I do think that she likes to play on the ground a little bit. And I think moreover, if she tries to avoid the ground completely against Dern, I think that's just going to leave her open for getting even more manhandled on the ground. I just see it's hard to trust Jessica Andrade at this point with the losses that she's accrued, especially the performances that have kind of come with them as well. And I think Mackenzie Dern has been doing pretty well. She's had some losses, but those losses have been in scraps, man. She's gotten so much better since we've seen her, first come into the UFC up until now. And I think she's just getting better each time we see her. So I think I'm just going to keep rolling with Mackenzie Dern here. I love Jessica Andrade, man, but I just think Mackenzie Dern's on an upward trajectory where Andrade seems to be going in the other direction. So I'm going to ride with Dern here. I think it'll be a unanimous decision, if not some kind of crazy-ass submission.
Yeah, I'll go next. I agree. I think that Dern is going to keep rising, and Andrade is going to keep looking for a turnaround here. I think this is a match that favors Dern. I think she's going to use that inherent size advantage that she has over Andrade. Andrade has a wrestling base herself, but Mackenzie Dern's jiu-jitsu pedigree, I think, is going to be too much. I think about what Erin Blanchfield did to Jessica Andrade not too long ago, kind of set things in motion for this losing streak. So give me Mackenzie Dern by submission, I'll say in round number 2, because Dern usually is a little bit of a slow starter. She has a knack for finding a submission in the last 7 seconds of a round. But give me Dern. I'm going to say that Dern gets the biggest win of her career thus far, absolutely, in the second round, subbing the great Jessica Andrade. Mark?
So Dern's about 2-1. She's minus 205. Jessica Andrade is plus 165. As I said, Dern 3 inches taller, 1 inch of reach. God, man. I would have picked Jessica Andrade to win this fight every day of the week, as recently as a year ago. And it feels wrong to me that I'm not going to pick her right now. Just because, on paper, I still feel like she has the tools to beat Mackenzie Dern, but trajectories in MMA are a thing, and I don't love what I'm seeing from Jessica Andrade lately. She looks like a bit unfocused to me. It seems like she's making some odd mistakes in fights. I didn't love the way that Jan caught her. And Mackenzie Dern's not a girl who you can afford to be sloppy against. So, I mean, on the feet, she could still very easily knock Mackenzie out, especially new Mackenzie, who is willing to exchange now and often relies on eating some shots in these exchanges. And you let Jessica Andrade touch you, that's not going to go as well as it might with some of the other girls she's been letting touch her. But I don't think I can trust Jessica at this moment. I don't think I can do it right now. I think Mackenzie may have advanced to a point now where her striking is good enough to keep her from getting put out, and I think that will allow her some chances to find openings in this fight, to initiate some grappling exchanges, and they'll guide her through to at least a win on the cards, and that's what I'm going to take. I'm taking a lot of decisions, I feel like, but I'm going to say 29-28 Mackenzie.
Oh, baby. We are unanimous in our taking Mackenzie Dern. Okay. Oh, my God. I can't with these two fucking final fights.
Yeah,
Co-main event, UFC 295 at MSG in New York. Heavyweight division, the interim UFC heavyweight title is on the line. It's going down between Sergey Pavlovich and Tom Aspinall. No nonsense, no nicknames. Neither of these guys have nicknames. That's how you know this is a no-nonsense fight. Sergey Pavlovich, the 31-year-old out of Rostov, Russia. His pro record stands at 18 victories and just one defeat, with 15 big wins coming by way of knockout. Most recently knocking out Curtis Blades in the very first round. In fact, I'm not going to sit here and count right now, but it looks like only 2 or 3 or 4 of his fights have gone out of the first round. So most of his knockout wins have come in the first round, usually in the first few minutes. And he'll be standing across from Tom Aspinall, the 30-year-old out of Lancashire, England. His pro record coming into this fight is 13-3. And also, all 13 of his wins have been finishes. 10 knockouts, 3 submissions. He himself has been finished twice, once knocked out, once submitted. Really, though, the knockout, now that I'm looking at his record, he really wasn't knocked out. It was the TKO loss via knee injury against Curtis Blades last year. Excuse me. So he really has never been knocked out. And he's facing a knockout artist of the highest degree. By the way, after he came back from his knee injury loss to Blades, and this past summer he got his own TKO victory over Marcin Tybura. So there you have it. Mark, start us off with the odds of this fight, and then give us your take and your pick.
It is basically a pick'em, as is the main event, which is what makes these two fights so fucking good. Slight difference. Tom Aspinall is -115 at the moment. Pavlovich is -105 at the moment. So you're paying a vig on either one of them. The measurements, 2 inches of height on the Aspinall side, but a 6-inch reach advantage for Sergey Pavlovich, which is a lot and which is always a huge factor for him. It's so hard to pick against Sergey Pavlovich, especially considering we know he was in camp as the scheduled backup fighter for this fight, and Tom was not in camp until about 2 weeks ago. I really, really hate fights of this high caliber being on short notice. I was just making the same point about the Volk Islam fight. Especially Tom, he's always talking about how he doesn't like to rush and his preparation and all that, and now he just jumps at this on whatever it was, 14 days less. So I don't feel as great as I would if this had been booked with camps. But with that being said, I am a Tom Aspinall guy. I have been a Tom Aspinall guy. And if you think I'm missing my chance to ride with him to an interim title, you are mistaken. The problem for him here is that he's going to have to walk on a razor's edge for as long as this thing lasts to make sure he doesn't get caught by the monster that is Sergey. Because that reach is a big factor, and it increases the chances of Tom being touched, and it may only take one to rock him. But I think if anyone can walk that line, it is Tom Aspinall. Look at the list of guys who Sergey has fought since the Overeem loss. Marcelo Golm, Maurice Green, Shamil Abdurrahimov, Derrick Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, Curtis Blades. Not one of those guys moves anything like Tom Aspinall. In fact, most of them don't even move at all. Those are guys who are standing there waiting to be hit, and Tom is not that. You always hear how Cyril Gane is a heavyweight that moves like a welterweight. That's Tom as well. His footwork is so good. He is so fast. He's always defensively responsible. I think he plays an in-and-out game here, and when he's in, he's all the way in and initiating clinches or shooting and seeing if he can get Pavlovich down or trying to find a trip or whatnot, and then separating again and being all the way out again, trying to use kicks from distance. And, maybe it doesn't happen right away in round one, but if he can stay safe, I think this thing starts to swing in his favor. As you said, Sergey has not been out of round one a lot of times. He hasn't gotten past it since 2017. And I think Tom can do this. I think he's going to be moving. I think he's going to be in and out, flicking kicks, getting Pavlovich off balance by making him think about a lot of things and think about the speed that Tom is moving at, and eventually take him down. And once there, maybe not the first time they're there, but if it's the second time, I think you can find a sub. I'm going to go Tom Aspinall, round 3 submission.
Omar, give us your take and your pick.
This is a heavyweight fight that I'm pretty excited for. I have a very tough time picking this fight just because how good both of these guys are, how clean their striking is. I think I would say if I had to choose one that was more well-rounded, I think you would probably land in the Tom Aspinall corner. I think I'm going to stick with Tom Aspinall on this one as well, man. I think it's really, really difficult, though. It really could go either way. It really could. The one thing I do think, though, is that I do think that this isn't coming out of the first round. And I think they're going to be playing with fire with each other. And I think Tom Aspinall could catch him, man. I just think he's a little bit faster than Sergey Pavlovich, and that's saying something because Pavlovich's hands are fucking fire. So I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall here by KO round 1.
Wow.
Oh, my God. Mark, how did you take it?
I did not expect that pick. Fuck.
What did you say, Mark?
I said round 3 sub. I almost said round 2 sub, but I pushed it into round 3.
I can't believe that I'm the only one taking Sergey Pavlovich in this fight.
Somebody had to.
Somebody's got to, man. Somebody's got to. Look, I love Tom Aspinall as well. This is unofficially a Tom Aspinall podcast as well, in case you didn't know. But, I mean, what Sergey Pavlovich does to other professional heavyweights is astounding. He cuts through them like a hot knife through butter, man. And, I mean, all of his UFC wins are in the first round. And to this... just the way he does it. It's like he has brass knuckles in his hands, honestly.
Dude, yeah, it's a great comparison.
Yeah, he hits like a hammer. And this cannot go to a decision. I insist. Neither one of these guys has a decision win on their record, so the MMA math really does check out for this one. I would be utterly shocked if this went all 5 rounds. I'll say that Tom has the fortitude to make it through the first round, which will, in a way, will almost be like a feather in the cap. But I think Pavlovich finds the chin, dings him in the second round, and swarms him as he does with so many guys, and gets the ref to step in with that TKO, waving it off. So Pavlovich, interim champ, round 2, TKO.
Christ.
Can't wait.
Can't wait, man. I will say this. I want to say this, too. I've already kind of forgotten that Jones and Stipe was supposed to be this.
Same.
Almost partly because I think Omar's going to agree, like, I never fully believed that fight was going to happen.
Me fucking either. Me either. I'm still not convinced that fight is ever fucking happening. Ever.
I'm not convinced that Stipe's ever going to fight again.
I'm not convinced John Jones is going to fight ever again.
So, that being said, I have to say this. I'm just as if not a little bit more eager or antsy about this fight.
I agree.
I mean, I was gonna take John in that fight, no matter what. I was like,
Yeah,
John's
we all
gonna
were.
win. He's gonna get Stipe to the ground. He's gonna do something. He's gonna submit him. It's just gonna be John. It just is.
Yeah,
But with this fight, I'm gonna be on the edge of my
Yes.
fucking seat.
that's what I was just gonna say. That fight was bigger. This fight is more edge of your seat.
Well said. Well said. Okay, we're making good time. Here we go.
Yeah.
Main event, UFC 295. Going down once again in Madison Square Garden in New York City for a fight that we don't deserve. We don't even deserve this fight, guys. I mean, when Alex Pereira came into the UFC as a middleweight, I feel like I said this on this show. Like, you know what would be a crazy dream matchup if Pereira moved up and fought Yuri Prochazka? Just because the level of striking of these two guys. Okay. So headlining this event for the light heavyweight world championship, Yuri Prochazka, Alex Pereira. Here we go. Let me set this up. Yuri Prochazka, the samurai. His nickname is BJP. Do we know what this stands for? Anybody?
I have no idea. I will look it up.
Prochazka is the 31-year-old out of Czech Republic. His pro MMA record stands at 29-3 with one draw. Only one of his wins has gone to the scorecards. The other 28 are all finishes, 3 of them submissions, and 25 of them are knockouts. All 3 of his losses, he has been knocked out twice and submitted once. And he's coming off of the title victory over Pereira's teammate and friend Glover Teixeira back in June of 2022. A 5-round war that ended finally with a rear naked choke victory for Prochazka. He'll be standing across from Alex Pereira, Poatan, the 36-year-old out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. His MMA record stands at 8-2 with 6 knockout victories. He's been finished twice himself, knocked out once, and submitted once. The knockout came in his rematch, his MMA rematch against Israel Adesanya. And then he moved up to 205, and he got a split decision victory over Jan Blachowicz back in July of this year. Omar, go first. Give us your take and your pick of this incredible lightweight title fight.
So real quick, the nickname stands for something I'm not going to pronounce, but directly translated seems to be bomb the shit out of them or big fucking bombs, apparently.
Wow.
His nickname should be The Last Samurai, and
Yeah.
I will hear nothing else about it.
Well, whatever BJP or BJP, whatever BJP means or is pronounced in his, what I'm assuming is his native tongue.
Check.
Yeah, seems to be big fucking bombs. So there's that.
Okay.
As far as this fight is concerned, this is a wild ass fight. I don't really know which way to go. It's really difficult for me to pick against Yuri Prochazka though, man. He's really nasty. He's really good, and the mentality that dude brings into the cage is something that you have to take into consideration. And it's not to say Alex Pereira doesn't have the mental fortitude to be in there, but Yuri is almost crazy when it comes to that. So I think it's going to be a well-fought fight. I don't think anyone... I'm not wholly convinced that somebody's going to end up knocked out here. At least not put to sleep. I could see probably some leg kicks coming into play later on in the fight. But I do think this is probably going to go quite a bit. So I'm going to go with Yuri Prochazka here by unanimous decision.
You're going with Prochazka by UD. Wow, interesting. I will go next. Unless, Mark, you want to just give me the odds first. Give the odds out there before I go.
Sure. Sorry, I'm recording Omar's pick. The odds. It's another one that's basically a pick'em. Slight
you said that
favorite is
before.
Pereira. He is minus 120.
Wow.
And
Wow.
Prochazka's even money, plus 100.
I would have thought that Prochazka would have been the favorite, or a
Yeah.
slight favorite.
Considering he's already been the fucking champion of that division. Yeah, same.
I
Same.
probably would have too.
All right.
I've been thinking a lot about this fight the past couple of days. Every time I see ads for it and stuff and promotional stuff, I'm like, fuck, I have to pick this fight on the show.
I haven't watched the countdown yet. I really got
Me either. It's such a good these are such good fights on this main card. Really good fights.
Yeah. I want to go with Prochazka. Stylistically, I don't know if Pereira has faced somebody as sort of unorthodox and dangerous as Prochazka in this way. But I can't help but think about is Prochazka's fight with Glover. And Glover had Prochazka in some real trouble in that fight. Remember, we were saying the irony of that title fight was that who would have thought that it was Glover who almost finished Prochazka with strikes, and it was Prochazka who ended up finishing Glover with a submission.
Yep.
But that's what I mean by the mental fortitude, right? Like, Prochazka could get fucked up at some point through a number of sequences in this fight coming up. Alex Pereira is definitely liable to make, Prochazka feel something. But Prochazka is not, he's not out of there, man. Unless he is put to sleep, that dude is going to keep coming for your face. And
I
it
hear
makes
you.
it a big issue.
What's haunting me and giving me a lot of pause, though, is I keep thinking if Alex Pereira gets Prochazka hurt like that, he's going to finish him. It's not going to go like it did with Glover. Mm-hmm. Which is why it's just such a fucking coin flip to me. It really is. I could see either one of these guys catching the other one and
Yeah, I
finishing
agree.
him. I'm just going to go with the more chaotic and unorthodox guy in Prochazka, as opposed to Pereira's more kind of straightforward Muay Thai kickboxing approach. So give me Prochazka by knockout. I'll say it comes in the middle of in mid fight. I'll say round 3.
You said Prochazka by knockout?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, it's down to me. So, yeah, I gave you the odds. 1 inch of height for Pereira. The reach is the same. Also having an incredibly hard time picking this fight. I could see it play out in a handful of different ways. I do think a man falls down to end this. I don't think it's going to see the cards. And I do think if this was an active and healthy Yuri entering this fight, I would probably lean toward him. Just the unorthodox striking that's different than what Pereira's having to look at, his pace and how high it is, and that I trust his cardio to be there as we hit the later rounds more than I trust Pereira's to be there because of having to deal with the pace that Yuri pushes, his ability to mix in the grappling. I think all that would have pushed me toward Yuri. But he's coming off what was described as the worst shoulder injury ever. And we haven't seen him since. So I have a little concern about that. And then he hasn't fought in a long-ass time. He's coming in with zero rhythm, no warm-up fight, nothing. And Alex has been very active. So with that being the case, I'm kind of coming where I slightly lean toward Alex, or Lex, I guess I should be saying. Because as we know, Yuri, and Mike kind of just said the same thing, Yuri presents openings with the way that he fights. He is there to be hit. He has been hit by plenty of guys. And if he isn't on his perfect usual rhythm, if it takes him a bit to get going, whatever it may be, I think Alex is a guy who can take advantage of that. All of the clean technique is on the Pereira side in this fight. He's the one, to me, that's more likely to find holes in the defense of the other as the fight goes on and reads are made, and I just think Yuri probably has more holes. I understand, like even I just said, for Pereira, it's going to be an adjustment of, like, this dude doesn't fight the way dudes are supposed to fight in terms of the strikes. So it's going to be an adjustment for him, too. And if I'm Yuri's team, I'm encouraging the grappling because we saw how well he did there against Glover, who's a great grappler. And I absolutely think he should explore it here, maybe even early, to get himself warmer in that fight before he has to deal with Pereira's strikes. But Pereira did well defending against Jan, and he's more acclimated to 205 now. And then throw in that he trains with Glover, who you got to think is sharing a lot of insight after those epic 25 minutes that he went through with Yuri. So I don't know. I think it's an absolute toss-up of a fight. Like I said, I think a healthy, active Yuri, I would have gone that way just on the pace and maybe Pereira tiring, but I don't think I'm gonna trust an inactive post-injury Yuri in such a close fight. So I'm gonna say Alex finds a shot in the earlier half of the fight. I'll say early round 3 TKO for Alex Pereira.
Whoa. So Omar and I both took Prochazka.
Yep.
Okay. We have a bit of a difference.
So we were Prochazka 2-1. We were Aspinall 2-1. Aldern. Saint-Denis 2-1. Lopez 2-1. Costa 2-1. All Godinez. And Gordon 2-1. It's only 2 unanimous picks.
Wow.
Should be interesting next week.
Yeah, should be for sure.
All right, no trivia.
Fucking card.
No trivia. We got to get out of here.
Okie doke.
I know Omar's got to get out of here.
Wife will be happy about that.
2 hours. Well done, boys. Well done.
Whew.
Yeah, it was good.
We covered a lot, I feel.
We did.
Hey, enjoy these fights this weekend. This is going to be a great pay-per-view card, and we're excited to hit the comments with you guys next week. Let us know your picks in the comments of this video down below, and we'll see you guys next week. Cool.
Boom. Peace.
Peace.